Well, so why doesn't Trump have the presidency right now? About what I was explaining before. So let me share with you. Votes for Biden were sitting inside these mail-in ballots that hadn't been fully counted in some states on election night. So for the last few days, these votes have been counted by hand, one by one, and the process is a slow one. But slowly, Biden's votes have been trickling in, and Trump's lead has been getting smaller and smaller, which many think will eventually evaporate and give Biden the presidency, with the exception of Arizona, where Trump's slowly gaining ground. So the entire world is waiting for basically 4 states, Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Georgia, to finish their counting so we can know who will be the next president. Of course, Trump is not going to admit defeat without a fight. He's been on Twitter constantly calling fraud. He's now starting to make lawsuits in the courts, even though there is almost no evidence at all of fraud happening anywhere in the country. Also, at 2:30 in the morning on Wednesday morning of election night, he made a speech at the White House in front of his supporters where he declared victory with absolutely no idea that he was going to win, basically undermining the democratic institutions in the process. He has asked the courts to order the election officials to stop counting the votes, but the counting is still taking place. At any moment, the news organizations can have enough data to say who has won. And so we wait. But Mexico, the US is supposed to be the example of a strong democracy? Really? Is that what we're experiencing? But now the presidential election wasn't the only election happening. The entire House of Representatives, 1/3 of the Senate, and most state houses were being contested on Tuesday. Democrats expected a huge blue wave and win in a landslide that did not happen. Actually, the Republicans gained seats in the House, and control of the Senate will most likely not be decided until January, but it is going to be an uphill battle for the party. With how the country is going, with more than 20% of all the world's COVID cases, and all of the other crazy things that has happened in the past 4 years, this is shocking. The polls did not predict this. And now as election data and exit polling is coming in, political analysts are trying to make sense of what happened. And as we've been reporting on the Gringo Show for at least the past month, a lot of what happened came down to the Latino vote. Latinos voted in overwhelmingly larger numbers for Donald Trump in 2020 than they did for him in 2016. And this is proving to be the difference in states like Nevada, Texas, Arizona, and Florida. Let's talk about Texas in particular and the Rio Grande Valley where McAllen is located. You know, the place where Regios go, buy crap for $5 and stuff it in the cars to hope they get past the inspection station on the border, bring it back to Monterrey, and poof, a Mexican city that looks and feels like Texas. Before you get mad at me, Regios, remember flour tortillas are kind of American, right? Don't get me wrong. I love them and I prefer them, but they're just not authentically Mexican. So let's go to Starr County, Texas, where I used to live, which actually is the closest town to Monterrey. In the 2016 election, voters chose Hillary Clinton by a 60% margin. In this election, the margin for Biden was just 5 points. This is insane. And the trend happened all over the country. Biden was expected to win Florida. But in Miami, Latinos, Cubans, who usually vote Republican, but also Colombians, Venezuelans, even Puerto Ricans, went out in droves to support Donald Trump. The margin of victory was so low for Biden that he didn't get enough votes to put him over the top in the Sunshine State. We brought a number of analysts to the show to try to explain what was happening. This was anticipated, and there's so much to say about the Democratic Party taking Latino votes for granted, and people decided to take a stand. When we interviewed a Starr County resident on the show a few weeks ago, he had shared that his local leaders have let him down, and he was tired of it. Also, check this out.
So down here, we've been a one-party system. In the Rio Grande Valley, it's been a one-party system since Reconstruction, and the local party that is in charge has not been held accountable.
The local party has not been accountable, right? It's kind of interesting. Also, there's been widespread reports of a disinformation campaign in Spanish in a coordinated effort by possibly the Trump campaign, and also reports of the Russians getting involved as well. Virtually nothing was discussed in the campaign about Mexico, the relationship, what would be done. And Trump was particularly quiet the entire cycle. And except he invited President Andrés Manuel López Obrador to the White House over the summer. It was not enough to just have outreach or ads in Spanish. Voters felt neglected, and we're going to talk about this a lot in the coming weeks.